Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. A very warm welcome today. We have a wonderful guest speaker joining us today, Mr. Vuso Majija. Vuso currently holds office at the South African Council of Shopping Centres, both as a director and recently appointed as their president. Vuso tells me now that that appointment has lasted for the first 2 months, so it's early tenure. However, I think Vuso's appointment is very much premised on his many years of experience in the industry, at least 18 years of property and asset management experience, and since 2009, having been part of the growth and development narrative at Fortress, a listed property fund. Fortress, I think a lot of you will know, Fortress is a listed property fund with a portfolio value of about 33 billion rand, about 2.8 million square meters of GLA. And given that Vuso is very specifically focused on retail, about 51 retail properties currently. And at Fortress, he is responsible as an executive director and head of retail. Other than these amazing commercial credentials, Vuso also has amazing academic background, having successfully achieved a Bachelor of Science with honors in property studies, I beg your pardon, and got an MBA from the Gibbs School, Gibbs Institute of Business Science. Certainly very well qualified to talk to us today about trends in South African retail. Vuso, thank you. Great to have you join us today.
Thank you for that warm welcome, Greg. I always wonder when I get introduced like this, who are they talking about? Because that sounds too good to be me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked to speak about retail trends and the retail property industry in South Africa. This industry is particularly important in the South African context because it facilitates the provision of goods and services to underserviced areas. The retail industry, including tenants, the bright future of shopping destinations in South Africa lies in their ability to evolve into dynamic community hubs that integrate retail, entertainment, and social experience. As an example, we at Fortress, we own a shopping center in Everton, in the south of Joburg. It's called Everton Mall. It's 35,000 squares in size, and we have over 900 people employed there. It's the biggest employer in that particular area. A smaller shopping center that we own in Tembisa, Yarona, it's about 6,000 squares in size, and we have over 200 people employed there. So from the perspective of providing goods and employment, our industry, which is the retail property industry, plays an important role within our local communities. I would like to extend my gratitude to High Street Auctions for inviting me here today. It really is heartening to see so many investors, property investors, present here today. It shows me that the appetite for property investments is high in South Africa, and that's a good thing. As Fortress, we've previously brought assets to High Street, to auction. Many of those has been successful, so I'm hoping that everyone has a successful auction here today. I had a look at the property list that is on auction. I would like to thank High Street Auctions for inviting me here today and wish everyone here a successful auction. Because that's my background, so I'm actually excited to see that there's a lot of retail properties on the market that are transacting. When I reflect on the auction industry in South Africa, I find it to be very similar to the property retail industry, in the sense that both industries are trying to create a market for buyers and sellers to interact. Over the last 2 decades, both these industries have had huge growth in South Africa. This growth, from particularly a retail point of view, has given access or greater access to goods and services to people who live in previously underserved areas, like rural areas and townships. If you look at the growth in the last 10 years, in fact 20 years, of South African shopping centers, a lot of those have been in the townships and the rural areas because they were previously underserviced. Now, similarly, the auction industry has evolved to provide a wider pool of buyers and sellers access to the property market. In preparation for this talk, I read somewhere, someone mentioned that the auction industry has democratized the selling and buying of property. The fall of the hammer does not discriminate who wins the prized asset. Feedback is that people from all backgrounds are buying and selling property on auction. Now, that is a great achievement for your industry. However, more must be done. The question remains, how will this industry build on its current achievements and play its role in making property ownership in South Africa more inclusive? Today's auction is focused on physical property. We are aware that physical property has the potential to transform our communities, to positively transform our communities. As property investors, are you playing your role in leading rejuvenation initiatives in the areas where you invest? Are you actively engaging and supporting the communities in which you invest and supporting them to grow? These are some of the questions that, from a transformative point of view, South African investors need to ask themselves. We are aware of the challenges that the retail property industry has had to face over the last couple of years. Most of these stem from economic uncertainty, high inflation rates, high interest rates, etc. But some of these were external factors like poor service delivery, constraints in energy and water. And most of us have had to invest in solar power, backup water, generators, etc., all with the aim to try and minimize the impact of these negative externalities. I thought this quote that I'm about to put up from the Deloitte Retail Outlook correctly summarize where global retail is sitting at the moment. I put it up here just to illustrate that South Africa and its challenges are not unique. The entire global retail market has been under pressure over the last couple of years. However, despite these obstacles, our industry has remained stable. Recent reports from listed retailers and listed property companies show that vacancies are decreasing, turnovers are increasing, and rentals are stabilizing. In March of this year, the South African Property Owners Association, SAPOA, released its Retail Trends report. It found that on a year-to-year basis, annualized trading densities had increased by 6.2%. Now, if you think about that and you think about the release of the latest CPI figures this morning from Stats SA, CPI is sitting at 4.6%. So 6.2% in turnover growth is good. There's a bit of a margin there. Further, from this report from SAPOA, at March 2024, vacancies in retail were down to 4.4%, compared a peak in March 2021 2021 of 7.1%. So we certainly headed in the right direction. And lastly, one of the things that I found to be interesting in that report was that the cost of occupancy, or the rent to sales ratio for tenants, is at its lowest that it has been in over a decade. It's sitting at about 6.7%. So every 100 rands of turnover that a tenant gets, 6.6 rand 70 of that goes towards their occupancy cost. That is really low. It means that our tenants are in a healthy position. This graph was produced by the South African Council of Shopping Centers in June last year. It shows the supply of retail space in South Africa and its growth. Interestingly, on this graph, since 2020, new shopping center space in South Africa has only increased by 700,000 square meters. Now that is a 0.8% annual compound growth rate, lower than the 2% annual compound growth rate experienced during the 2010s. This simply means that the supply of new space in South Africa, of retail, has slowed down over the last 4 or 5 years. At the same time, there's been a lot of activities from tenants in opening new shops. I like to read the financial statements or financial reports of retailers. And the most recent one that I read was ShopRite. I think in July, they released their operational update as of June of this year. Over the last 12 months, the ShopRite Group has opened 292 new stores in the last 12 months. In July also, the Mr. Price Group released its 3-month trading statement. For a 3-month period, the 3 months prior, they said that they opened 35 new stores in that 3 months. Now, in the last couple of years, many listed retailers have been sharing similar stats. We know that unlisted retailers also have been opening stores. A friend of mine shared a note from Hungry Lion. Hungry Lion at the moment has got about 400 stores this year. This year alone, they opened 100 stores. Their aim for next year is to open 150 stores. Now, that's an unlisted retailer, but many more retailers that are unlisted are opening stores. So the impact of this slowing supply of retail space and the activity that we've seen from the tenants opening stores has resulted in what I was talking about earlier on, the decrease in vacancies and the stabilizing of rentals. So for potential investors in retail property, my view is that our industry is very stable and ready to come out firing when the economy or as the economy improves. I'm optimistic that the economy will improve, and there are signs that it's improving already. I'm optimistic because for the following reasons. Firstly, the promise of political stability that is represented by the GNU. The parties that are in the GNU are committed to the rule of law, and they are committed to the values of our constitution. Secondly, the progress made by Eskom in reducing load shedding is positive, and I think the grid will stabilize as the years go on. Thirdly, collaborative efforts between the private sector and government on projects like Project Vulindlela are encouraging. A few months ago, the economist J.P. Landman quoted the Bureau of Economic Research, which said that if Project Vulindlela is implemented, the economy could grow by as much as 3.5%. Now, a growth rate of 3.5% is twice the speed of our growth in the population, and that's positive for us. And we haven't seen that since the 2010, since the early 2000s actually. And we'll all remember that in the early 2000s, between the early 2000 and call it 2010, the property industry was booming in South Africa. So that's a good sign. These factors will certainly pave a way for sustainable growth and improved trading conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great industry with a bright future. I do not doubt that in a couple of years, we'll be in a much stronger position. The bright future of shopping destinations in South Africa lies in their ability to evolve into dynamic community hubs that integrate retail, entertainment, and social experience. As property investors, it is in our best interest to lead rejuvenation initiatives. If you look at the success of the Cape Town City Improvement Initiative, it just shows that collaboration between private property owners and local government can benefit everyone. A friend of mine was telling me yesterday that, everyone knows with the office market in South Africa, but the office market in Cape Town, the city of Cape Town, is actually doing well. And for me, looking at it, it's a direct benefit of the work that business has done with the city of Cape Town. And we should be doing similar initiatives in Joburg, in Bloem, in Durban. It will benefit us as an industry. To achieve this vision, we must act now. Industry leaders, property investors, policymakers must invest in these transformative changes. Together, we can create a future where South African shopping destinations inspire, connect, and uplift our communities. Let us seize this opportunity and lead the way in redefining the retail landscape. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank High Street Auctions for inviting me here today and wish everyone here a successful auction. Thank you very much.